I want to read some real comments from real people on my post. These aren't trolls. These are musicians, engineers, producers, platform executives, people with credentials and careers and decades of experience. Listen carefully. This is music like bubblegum is food. A musician and composer. What an absolute joke and a waste of everyone's resources. A startup founder. I have no qualms about discouraging tasteless bores from polluting our culture with vapid slop. That was from a senior platform engineer. And then this from the same senior platform engineer. 3 comments later in the same thread. You're advocating for the destruction of musical culture while destroying the planet. Vapid slop? That destroys civilization? Pick one. You don't get to call something worthless and then call it an existential threat at the same breath. That's not a position. That's a contradiction. And I'm going to name it directly because it matters. Threats require power. Worthless things don't have power. If AI music is trivial noise, it cannot also be destroying musical culture. Those two things cannot coexist in a coherent argument. And yet this is the standard temperature of the conversation. I didn't cherry pick these. This is what shows up on my posts every week. A CTO, 7 likes on this one. What skill? 7 people agreed with what I do requires no skill. Meanwhile, a senior project manager writes, real artists will get even smaller portions of royalties. The barrier to making a living through music becomes even harder to break. An audio engineer with major studio credits writes, quit supporting a few businessmen that want to put artists out of work for their gain. So which is it? Worthless or threatening? Because it cannot be both. Here's what's actually happening underneath all of this. The people making these arguments, they're not stupid. Most of them are experienced, talented, and they care deeply about music. I'm not dismissing that. But there's a difference between a logical argument and an emotional response dressed in logical clothing. The emotional truth underneath most of this is something I worked hard to build feels threatened. My skill, my identity, my place in the ecosystem. That feeling is real, it's valid. But feelings don't require logical consistency. You can simultaneously feel something is beneath you and fear it's coming for you. That's just how threat responses work. The brain doesn't demand coherence when it's in fight mode. The problem is when I feel threatened becomes this is objectively worthless and objectively dangerous, without anyone noticing that those two claims cannot coexist. There is a coherent version of the criticism, and it goes like this. AI music is capable of producing music that is good enough to compete for placement, streams, and licensing dollars that used to go to human musicians. That's a real economic threat. It doesn't require AI music to be great. It only requires it to be good enough and cheap enough to displace human labor in certain contexts. That argument I can respect. That argument I'll engage with seriously. It doesn't require contradiction. It requires AI music to be economically disruptive, which it clearly is. The creators navigating this well are the ones who adapted, who developed a methodology, who bring genuine creative direction to these tools, who build catalogs with real artistic identity. They are not being displaced. The ones being displaced are the ones treating music production as a commodity service with no distinguishing craft. The ones pumping out raw AI exports with no direction, no mastering, no human creative vision. Those people deserve the disruption they're going to get. If you're watching this and you feel what I feel, if you're a serious creator who is done being called lazy, done being called a fraud, done having your craft dismissed by people who have never spent 3 hours integrating a single prompt, never pulled a stem into a DAW, never built artistic identity from the ground up, I'm not backing down. I've been in bands. I've performed on stages. I've invested in music royalties, which means I own the rights to songs that these AI models have almost certainly trained on. I have more skin in this game than most of the people yelling at me. And I'm still here. still building, still teaching, still publishing research, still mastering tracks. Because the tools don't determine the legitimacy of the music. The human behind the tools does. That has always been true, and it's true now. The synthesizer didn't kill the orchestra. The drum machine didn't kill the drummer. And AI is not going to kill the human artist who knows how to use it with intention. Lane 2 is not a compromise. It's the standard. Human authored, AI assisted. Your story, your vision, your creative direction. With the most powerful production tools in history available to execute it. Stop waiting for permission from people who are arguing with themselves. Get behind this, let's build. Red Lab Access, jgbslab.com, for creators who are done asking for permission.